Very warm good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, viewers. I'm Matthias Ofiku, news editor of the Namibian Sun newspaper. Welcome to another exciting edition of the Evening Review Show. Well, tonight we speak politics. Of course, it's the crazy political season that's upon us. We speak Swapo Congress matters. Of course, the campaign trail for the candidates for the vice president position and all the other top four positions have open today. So we have political analyst Dr. Hoze Riruako in studio. Doctor, welcome, and it's good to have you here.
Thank you, and thank you to the nation and all the listeners.
Yeah?
For the opportunity.
Yeah, well, tonight we want to tap into your political wisdom. Well, really around the upcoming ruling party Congress and the happening so far, starting, of course, from last week, Saturday, the Central Committee, the controversial one, if you may call it that. What was your take of the outcome of that Central Committee meeting?
I think the first impression that I have is that I'm not worried about the leading up to the Congress, to the Central Committee meeting. But one will look at how the process was handled during the Central Committee. And unlike a few years back when the whole situation was overheating, I think the situation this time around was very calm. One could say that it was very, very transparent, and I say very democratic in essence. The way the election was done seems to be up and above board. The other things about the type of candidates and whatever, I think that we can talk about later. But the process seemed very, very transparent.
Yeah, okay. Well, there always seems to be a very sharp rise in temperature as far as Swapo's internal elective processes are concerned. And every Congress, we tend to see the same trend as far as the heated contest is concerned. Why is that the case? What causes that? Maybe you can tell us a bit about it.
I think the past, what was hounding the party is the issue of factionalism. And this is something that Swapo was not able to stamp out over a number of years. The party has been fragmented, from dog years going back. If you remember with the exodus of the Swapo, the former president Chipanga then Mushake Muyongo, then of course in the new age, remember the things that led to the formation of the COD, and then of course the one thing that shake the party to the core was of course the coming of the RDP at the time. And then after that, we have seen some of the firebrand young people leaving the party. And this was more of a scuffle between what some call the Tanganyika group, the elders, who had more of a push and shoving between the youth. The likes of Dr. Gurare, Dr. Joba Mpanda, and later on the differences in the office between, of course, the then Minister of Land and his deputy. That went to some of these people now moving out of the party, forming their own political, party, and the party has not healed from those divisions. And of course, the last election was the whole essence of Team Swapo, Team Hage, Team Harambe. If Swapo is not clever enough to make sure that before the next Congress, this thing is nipped in the bud, they're likely going to have the same outcome.
Yeah. But from an academic point of view, of course, politics is your forte. Is it possible, not just for Swapo, for any political movement, as far as internal contestation is concerned, is there a way that you can avoid the slates and factionalism? Because different candidates all have their different followers. So how do you manage it?
Well, politics or political leaders are different animals. I keep saying they come from a different pedigree. They smell differently, they react differently. And they will always connive and go behind each other's backs. That's the nature of politics. You step on the other for you to shine. That has been the trend. But when things are over-exaggerated to such an extent that it erodes the base of, the support base of the party, that should become a worrying phenomenon for the party. And if you see for Swapo, for instance, at independence, Swapo had a very commanding lead over the other opposition parties. And then, of course, come with the current president, the first term. I think people pinned so much hope on him, especially people from the other political parties, those within Swapo who have been ostracized within the party, have been ridiculed within the party. They said, okay, well, I think this guy will give us hope. And that's why the commanding lead at Swapo at the time, the party was able to garner about 85%, and the president about 87%. But then, the second time around, many started seeing that the president perhaps did not live up to their expectation. And even some of the people from other political parties, sympathizers who voted for the presidency at the time, and then the party cadres themselves, the support dwindled to a very worrying level, about 54, 53%. And that has been the trend for many liberation movements around the globe. The first 30 years have been the jovial years, where they were riding the gravy train. But then thereafter, that's when you start seeing some of them losing their offices to the opposition. And I don't know whether this is the same thing in play in Swapo, but it's very difficult to glue the people together unless you get a very strong, charismatic leader who will be able to rally everybody behind and make sure that they, for the first time after 32 years, those people who have been falling on this the wayside will start seeing hope to want to belong to the party, to want to be associated with the party. Now, what I have seen with the current team that we have, one at best can describe it as putting an old wine in a new bottle. So that not much have changed.
So, but how can much change, considering the manner in which processes are conducted in the party, as far as qualifying for contestation of certain position is concerned?
I think two things. The vetting process within the party, it's something that we want to take a look at it. Because there are some stringent requirements within the Swapo constitutions that bar some people to really climb the ladder and go to higher position. That's one thing. But then I think, especially the people that are needed now, 32 years after independence, we need professional technocrats in the office. Two things should happen. The first thing is that for those who have the potential, they should learn the ropes, go into the villages, get their hands dirty, roll up their arms, because this is where the decisions are taken. The people are coming from the regions, and many of the professionals are not necessarily going there. And then the other thing also, just before I go to the other point, is the fact that many of those who have potential have been shouted into obscurity or silence by those who were in charge of the party at the time. So I think that need to change. We need to inject some fresh blood in the system. But then the second thing, well, we have seen in our neighboring Botswana, for instance, I mean, after a few years after independence, the president was able to come in and retire many of the politicians, many of those who came via the regions and whatever. I say, okay, you guys go back to your regions, you work in your region, but I'm going to now invite fresh minds, the academics, the experts, the technocrats in government to run the government activities. And either one of the two have to happen. The party must change, because we are working on a party list system, and we can't do away with it.
So how do you balance that? You can't force me, if I rank high on the party list now, to go back to the village. How do you balance that?
Well, your vetting process, because this is where now you, as much as you don't want to dictate it to the region, but it's too late for this year, for this time around. But next time around, you give clear instructions to the candidates or to those people who are hailing from the regions and tell them, these are the qualities that we are looking for. Because failure of putting people who can size up and square up with some of the vibrant, educated, experienced youth that we are seeing here, you find a situation where the one person will be speaking facts, the other person will be shouting back without facts. And this is what we have seen many a times playing out at critical junctures. So what I'm saying is that, yes, it's doable, but the instruction should come up from the party. This is where the party could have done itself a favor by doing a complete overhaul. That's why you have the Secretary General of the party. Look at the intricacies of that. Look at the challenges within the party. Come up with a strategy from your office, from the party, to see how you can steer and direct the situation, or the whole process. The president is more of the head of the party. but the administrators of the party, the everyday people in the party, they go to the regions. You go to your district. Make sure that from there you improve things because you can't be improving things in parliament.
Just lastly, before we go for a break, Doctor, I'd like to know from you, what is your view? What is Swapo's challenge as far as succession is concerned? It seems every Congress, it's the same problems that occur related to succession. What is the party not getting right?
I think as much as one doesn't want to go back to a strong man character, the way the founding president got things right, he commanded respect, he was in charge, he had a strategy, he worked within the party and behind closed doors and make sure that the whole team were kept together. Now, what I'm seeing, especially coming from Bahamba and even worsening with the current president, is that the respect for the highest office within the party has worsened so much, to such an extent that anybody can wake up and say anything to the president. And until such time that we find somebody that the voters can resonate with, a person that they can respect, a person that they can relate to, things are going to be difficult. Because honestly, I mean, even if you look at the candidates that are now vying for the positions, the question that comes to mind is that what difference are they going to make?
Yeah. Let me just want you to hold your thought as we go for a quick break, and we'll come and continue the conversation. Well, to our viewers, we wait for a quick break, and we'll be back to continue this exciting conversation. Stay tuned. Well, let me welcome the viewers back from the short break. Dr. Riruako, let's continue our conversation before I interrupted your thoughts. Well, we were talking about the issue of succession and how the party repeatedly continue to face the same challenges as far as succession is concerned. Can you just continue where you left off?
Yeah, I think for me, the whole essence is around respect and around the candidate in the office. And what I was saying is that I think it's high time that the party can get somebody that they respect. They can get somebody that they can resonate and give hope to, to the rest of the party cadres. But then it's one thing to expect from a person. It's another thing for a person to live up to that expectation. And I think the type of voters that we have today. Not those royal voters that will follow the party blindly as it was in the beginning. People now want somebody who can deliver. There are specific challenges. We have something like over 51% of unemployment for the youth. We're having graduates roaming the street. We know we have seen the economy going first in a slowdown and then in a complete recession. Some countries were able to rebound, with very, very small baby steps in terms of improving the economy. But the rest of the country, Namibia included, we are trailing behind. And then on top of that came the scourge of COVID. So what we are saying is that no longer is that time where we can hinge on what the party have done in the past. The youth and everybody that we have today, they are saying that what can you do for me now? Who is that person among the candidates that we have, and what have they done differently while in the office? What can they do differently now when they take the Oval Office? So this is basically what the people are looking for, and I think once you come to that level, people start seeing drastic changes, then I think within time we can regain, that trust. We can regain, because people want to see things, tangible things on the ground.
So, what do you make of the candidates?
Well, that's a very subjective question.
It's of course, from a neutral and analyst point of view. In terms of, they've been in government, so we know their work. So it should be easy to judge them.
I think, going on their record, I think every one of these candidates that we have are very well experienced. They have been in government for years. But I think one would want to go and want to find out, is there anything that stand out from their service or their contribution as a person at their level in their different office?
Yeah.
You take, for instance, the Prime Minister. The current Prime Minister, Honorable Kukongelwa. You want to find out in her office, what are the difference that she has made? You go back to the time of Libertine, for instance. You can lay your hands on her playing a role, especially for these people who were previously, disadvantaged, the overtrained, the marginalized people, and so on. So her emphasis or her focus was basically to try to bring these people in the mainstream in the economy, make sure that they bring these people to civilization, make sure that these people get schools, they get medical clinic built, and so on. So you can say that is the legacy.
Yeah.
I'm trying to put a legacy on the current Prime Minister. What is the one thing that I can say during her tenure in the office? This is what she brought to this office, or what she have amplified.
Yeah.
I can't say that with certain certainty. Now, you go to the Deputy Prime Minister. What I have seen, I don't know whether there was a complete disconnect between the two, or a laxed type of atmosphere between the two. I did not see a united office at almost every activity where you can see the Prime Minister is driving this, her deputy is either supporting this or coming up with this. These were two isolated individuals in their own little cocoon within the same office, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I could be wrong. I'm now analyzing this thing from a distance. Now, that robbed me of a situation again to see what notable gains or contribution that the Deputy Prime Minister also made in her office. She was a very vibrant person, in her previous portfolio. But then in this position, it was that for the 8 years or the how many years, she has just been floating with the system.
Yeah.
So that is, for me, difficult now to analyze. Then you go back, you look at, I don't know whether the rumor has it that one of the person have now moved out of the candidate.
In fact, it was good. I'm going to get to that.
Okay. It's useless actually to analyze that situation at this point. But then you look at other at Pohamba Chifeta. There is the other candidate for that position. Again, it's one of the long-serving minister in one portfolio. There are some notable achievements, and then there are a few drawbacks, within those years. So I think each one of them can be looked at their own merit. But if you lump all of them in and throw them in one pot and stir them up and see what you get, I'm getting an overall opinion of saying that unless they can tell me as a voter, unless they can tell the Namibian people what their strategy is for the time when they take the office, I think it's going to be the same old.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
Just on this subject, you spoke of the issue of the Prime Minister, of course, not at government level, and the Deputy Prime Minister working in silos. Do you think the President's decision to appoint them in this manner in government, considering they are standing in the party, has backfired? And perhaps, of course, now this situation where they are facing each other, squaring off.
I didn't quite well get the question.
Do you think the lineup of government at the top, PM and Deputy PM, and the way they are positioned in the party, played a role in what's going on now?
That was an anomaly from the beginning, honestly speaking. I mean, it kills your vigorness. It kills
Whose figure was killed in this term?
It's like you are having your junior in the party serving you as your senior in government. It's a clear contradiction, in my opinion. I mean, I don't know where the president was coming. I mean, he's the appointing authority. Maybe he have reason to do that. But for me, if I was the vice president and I was appointed by the very same person that I contributed with my votes and standing within the Congress, I would take that as a slap in my face. Yeah, so I think that was an anomaly, and I think that's what killed the go-getter attitude to that the VP, the vice the deputy prime minister would have had in that portfolio. I mean, it's an anomaly. It's a misnomer in my opinion.
Yeah. So, would you then say perhaps? Can one view it in the light that it also speaks as to why the president is not endorsing anyone? Traditionally, it's supposed to be his VP.
Yeah.
Does it, or are we overthinking?
For me, vice president around the globe endorse their vice president. I mean, the president endorsed their vice president. In this case, I'm completely intrigued whether it is a personal thing between the two. Which I hope is not the case, because we are running a company for the benefit of everybody, putting aside any personal differences. Or it could be that the president couldn't see certain qualities in his own vice president, or PM. And that is, again, something that if that is the case, it's a very serious, thing to look at. So we are now being speculative, but something is not adding up.
Yeah, but the presidency has made it clear that the president wants fair contestation. Well, what's not adding up? Is it the contestation that we don't want, or is it because we just want things to be done the way they were done in the past?
Not necessarily that. We come from a party that is so fragmented. We are busy with confidence boosting and building. And if we want to make sure that the party remain coherent, the culture has been that the vice president usually assent to the presidency. I think the only exception has been with the case of the late Honorable Hendrik Witbooi. The rest, this has been the trend. And it also has been the case that so far the president, the incumbent president, endorse the VP. That has happened with Nyoma, the founding father, and Pohamba. It has also happened also with the second president, Pohamba, and Hage. Yeah. So I don't see the reason, even though it may not be openly, because I remember in both instances this was not done openly, but it was done covertly. So those who were working in the process knew the incumbent president endorsed the vice president for that position. And then behind the scene also, both work together, the president and the vice president, to make sure that the next president garner the necessary vote, galvanize the support that he or she needed. Anything short of that within the current setup, then one would want to jump to the conclusion that there is more than it meets the eye.
Yeah. Just as we wrap up, Doctor, what do you make of today's developments that one of the VP candidates, Honorable Frans Kapofi, has withdrawn from the race?
Well, that is anybody's guess. At this point, it's very difficult to put your finger on something. I think he knows, because what surprised me is that you cannot say that this person was able to give in to some pressure surrounding some of the controversies that has been, rumored with his involvement with the SME Bank and other activities. I have known Honorable Kapofi to be one of the level-headed person. And apart from that, I'm not aware of any negative political scar on his very illustrious and long political career. In fact, I gave him a very, very good chance, for the presidency. But now for him to jump out of the system at this point, out of the race, it came as a very, very serious surprise to me. But maybe at some point he will come and inform the nation as to why he have taken this decision. Because in my opinion, he stands as a good chance like any other person in the race. In fact, better than some of the people in the race.
So just lastly, what does this do to the race?
Well, I don't know whether Let me go back a little bit just for 1 second. Maybe one could also look at this thing as a tactical move. I want to shy away from the groupings within the Oshuambo speaking group, but now the three candidates are Kwanyama. Kapofi is a Kwanyama, Netumbo is a Kwanyama, and of course, Chifeta. I would have seen, if any of them were employing a very serious political strategist, it would have been a very good strategy for them to bring back the few years back the Amutenya, Angula, Pahamba scenario, where they could help to split the vote of whoever is their running opponent, and they lump their votes together, and we'll be able to steal this thing. It will be a daytime robbery, and they will be able to do it openly. So him getting out, it could be a strategy that now the race is a bit it's a bit tighter, but then the same scenario also at the end of the day can come to play.
Well, Dr. Riruako, thank you very much for your insight this evening. We appreciate your time on the show.
Thank you a million.
Thank you very much. Thank you. To our viewers, that is from the Evening Review team. Thank you for staying tuned. See you again tomorrow, same time, same place.